All right, so this time we're going to pick up on stress, and we're going to focus in a little bit on this emotion of stress because stress has become such as a predominant issue in our society that we've actually created a whole new subfield of psychology called health psychology. Many people report being affected by stress, and we're actually seeing the effects of stress happening at younger and younger ages. It used to be something that we really only saw in middle-aged and or people who were in highly kind of like extreme environments. Now we're seeing, kids as young as middle school and elementary school suffering from some of these effects of stress. So some terms psychologists use to talk about stress. A stressor. Okay, so a stressor is an event or condition which we view as threatening, challenging, or overwhelming. Examples of this could be poverty, an explosion, a psychology test on Friday, feeling cold, being in a plane, and loud noises. Appraisal refers to deciding whether to view something as a stressor or not. So again, stressors, we don't all have the same stressors. It's our appraisal of that event that's going to determine whether or not our mind considers it a stressor. And then stress reaction refers to any emotional and physical responses to the stressor, such as rapid heartbeat, elevated cortisol levels, and crying. Now, we all handle stress differently. Some of us are stress eaters, some of us are stress criers, some of us shut down with stress, some of us are slightly motivated by stress, some of us get sick, some of us, pull out our hair. There's all different ways that stress manifests itself in an individual. But in general, we can identify some major kind of stress reactions. Now, what actually is stress then? Well, the definition of stress refers to the process of appraising and responding to events which we consider threatening or challenging. Okay, so stress in and of itself is a process. It's not just the event. Just the event is the stressor. Okay, but the actual stress is the process that we go through in terms of how do we appraise the situation and then also how do we respond to the situation. So some of the things that we're going to talk about in this kind of unit on stress or this focus in on stress is what are some ways that we can change our appraisals and then also that we can change our responses. So looking kind of closely at stressors. Stresses refer to the events and conditions that trigger our stress response because they are perceived, appraised as overwhelmingly challenging, threatening, and or harmful. So there can be a spectrum of levels of intensity and persistence of stressors. Some can be strong and short. Some of them can be subtle and long-term and persistent. There's not one kind of thing that determines how stressful and how impactful a stressor is going to be on you. We can also see stressors as falling into one of three categories: catastrophes, significant life changes, or chronic daily hassles. Okay, so these are kind of the three major categories that we use to kind of classify what these different substressors are. Again, so when we talk about stress, when you see some of the things, people oftentimes think of stressful things as the big things, the catastrophes or the significant life changes. But those chronic daily hassles can sneak up on us. And sometimes we don't realize that if you have a lot of little chronic daily hassles in your life, that those can build and the persistence of those can build in intensity. And sometimes those can be more harmful than a major catastrophe or a significant life event. All right, so in the next video, we're going to talk about kind of our body's adaptation to stress and what is kind of the cycle that we go through with our stress response. But again, for this one, what you really need to make sure you know and understand is the definition of stress, what are stressors, what's the appraisal, and understand that, we have stressors, we have appraisal, and then we have our stress response. And those are three kind of